Hello everyone. Let me walk you through how I have designed the risk management section for AASB S2 Climate Report Builder. Risk management under AASB S2 is often seen as a complex because the standard is principle based. It tells the organization what needs to be disclosed, but not how to structure the internal processes or how to articulate them clearly. What I've done is translate that ambiguity into structured and intuitive workflows. Instead of asking users to interpret the standards and write disclosures from scratch, I've got a guide here which will um, help them go through a series of simple logical steps that reflects how a risk management process actually works in practice as they answer the question and figure out how to disclose their risk management process for the purpose of ASP. So the goal is simple. We I want to help users move from a fragmented internal process to a clear, consistent, and audit defensible risk management narrative. We'll start with the process of identifying the risk. So, when you go to the Apple Accounting Hub website, go to the reporting tools. Hey, these are all free tools, so you don't have to pay anything for this. I'll select the we'll go back, select Climate Report Builder, and we discuss risk management. So the first step is identification. Um, We start with risk identification by asking user to clearly articulate how climate risks are identified within the organization. Instead of asking for a written response, we present practical methods such as business planning process or regulatory monitoring, scenario analysis, and external research. What process the user has within the organization to identify climate risk. So user selects the relevant processes, then um, moves on to the next questions, where we are trying to understand the different parts of the businesses covered. This ensures that the organization has considered the full value chain instead of just focusing on key customers. Are they also looking at the full value chain, like the suppliers, the downstream distribution? Now, please answer it honestly. In case you feel that you have not covered the entire value chain, note it down and make sure that you kind of keep on improving on your disclosure as you progress, as your process becomes more mature. And once you've identified the risk management or risk, once you've identified the risk, yeah, once you have explained how you identify the risk, the next step is how do you assess your risk and determine what are your material climate risk. Again, rather than forcing a specific methodology, we capture the core factors that the organization consider. So, what criteria are used to assess climate risk? These includes likelihood, impact on the business, time horizon, and overall significance. This aligns with the principle-based nature of the standard and allows flexibility while ensuring completeness. As you select, let's say, you look at the likelihood and the risk significance. You also describe the process in simple words. What you would notice is as you provide answers, there is no short getting there. Then the next question is whether your climate risk assessment process is actually documented or it's informal. And if it's your first year of reporting, you might say, hey, it's not fully documented, and you can provide details like this will be formally approved by the board. I'm making up a date, let's say first July 2027, which would be your next financial year. And then how does the organization determine whether the climate is covered? Here, this is more critical, very critical when you think about the process. This is where organization determine which risks are significant enough to be disclosed to the board and in your disclosures. We ask how material risks are identified based on criteria such as financial impact, high risk rating, regulatory exposure, and strategic importance. These steps filters assess risk into those that could influence financial performance and decision making. Once you have defined your materiality question, you will move to that strand which talks about how the risks are now integrated um, in the overall process. Um, this question provides immediate insight into the maturity of the organization risk management process. So the first question is, how are climate-related risks integrated into your overall risk management process? Is it fully integrated, partially managed through a separate risk process, or not currently integrated? You could, I mean, again, depending on how your process, how mature your process is, it might be not fully integrated, partially, it's like partially, and you will see the disclosures getting updated. And then once you've identified, assessed, and identified your material risk, where does it get recorded? So I've just said it gets recorded in the advice list register. If you have something else, please add it here. And then question nine. Now you have your risk management process. Who's responsible for reviewing climate-related risk under the risk management process? You say typically it's board of directors, senior management, risk management function, um, risk committee. Some of the we have tried to give as much flexibility as possible, so covers selects examples which are relevant for you, and then once you have your risk management process, how quickly, how regularly it is reviewed and updated. So you could say it's done on annually, and then basically you also explain about climate risk reported, updated and monitored, where you can just descriptively talk about the process you have of uh, the monitoring of risk management and when it is updated. Uh, and what you would see is that based on the answer provided, the disclosure is getting updated on the right side. Um, and yeah, those were the different section this management template of pillar. So what we have done earlier is we have covered the basis of preparation, what are the transition, how do you record transition relief, governance pillar, risk management. In the next video, we will look at risk and opportunity. Again, this is a free tool. The whole goal is to help companies implement the standard in a simple, in a much easier manner, even if they don't have any climate expertise. So these are questions based on visit format. The questions are um, made into specific smaller areas, so it's easier to answer for the user or provide feedback. There are drop down options so that it's easier for the user to select one, and then there is a lot of free text option where the user could explain their processes in descriptive manner. You have disclosure on the right, good things. Try this out. If you have any feedback, give it to me. I'll see you in the next video on the risk and opportunities.